everyone, I'm Ari here with Rachel, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week we're on episode 279, and we're asking, is writing daily a good habit? Before we start, if you enjoy the show, then do consider checking out our coffee page. You can follow the page for free, as we have plenty of goodies for all. If you're feeling generous, a one-off donation will get you access to even more treats, or you can become a Merry Writer for just $2 a month. For this, you get access to all the items in our shop, including exclusive goodies, as well as access to monthly bonuses, all while helping to support our podcast. And just to give you an idea, as of recording this, there are already 25 items in our shop. So there's lots of things ready for you already. If that's not your style, but you still enjoy the podcast, then do please subscribe wherever you're listening if you haven't already, and do consider dropping us a like on YouTube. It all helps. Okay, we're talking about daily writing habits because this is one of those challenges that we started, and I think this is another one where I went, I'm going to put this as a challenge. What a terrible idea. So let's start a quick one with our early preconceptions of how this was going to go, especially during hot summer months. I think I stupidly had the idea because when I came up with this as an idea for a challenge, I was feeling pumped, that kind of like, yes, great, we can do this. But like most things, especially when you're an introvert, when you think of something great, and you're like, yeah, I want to go out and do this, I want to do that. And then it comes around and it isn't what you expect because you're suddenly not as interested or you're not as motivated. So I came into it really positive right up until I started it. Not great.
To be honest, when you first mentioned this challenge to me, I was like, easy peasy. I participated in NaNoWriMo for, over a decade. Like, that'll be fine. I can write for 30 days straight. And also it's summer, which means that my afternoons are free because I don't nanny over the summer. So I thought it was going to, be a good idea. However, I was worried about the actual writing part, which I know sounds kind of ridiculous because the whole point is writing for 30 days straight. But this was kind of poor timing for both of us because Ari was prepping her book for her editor and I was prepping my book for my proofreader. So neither one of us were really at the writing stage per se. And yeah, so I was a little iffy on that. But otherwise, I was like 30 days in a row, this will be easy peasy. It wasn't.
I think that's it. It's like I'd come off the 85K challenge. So it's like, yeah, I can manage this, I'm sure. And yeah, as you said, it's like when the idea came up, I don't think we were in the position of me editing my book and getting it ready and you prepping for your release. So again, it's one of those things where we have ideas and then when it comes to execution, it's not as good. Okay, so let's go with how it started. My week one. I actually managed to start pretty strong and wrote for 5 days. And then I hit a really big depressive episode that just ground everything in my life to a halt. So obviously the writing just stalled.
I had a depressive episode too. We're so similar like that. I love how we've talked about this before. When things are going great for one of us, the other one is going through hell and vice versa. Or we're both going through hell. There's never any like positive moments between both of us. But yeah, I had a depressive episode. I skipped writing completely the first week. And I also had some family obligations that filled that first weekend. My cousin had turned 21. So we had some festivities going on. So that was good. That wasn't part of the depressive episode. But otherwise, I didn't get anything done.
Yeah, and it's never good when the first week isn't a good strong one, I found. So I don't think we're in a great place with that.
No, and even you had reminded me a couple of times because we met our first podcast meeting after starting the challenge. You were like, "Did you get your writing done?" And I was like, "What writing?" And you were like, "We were supposed to start the challenge like 2 days ago." And I was like, "Oh, nope. Did not even think of that." And yeah, that just and you reminded me and I started writing a daily thing about, I forgot. Ari reminded me, but I still didn't do it. And then if you look at the day by day breakdown, a couple of days was just, I was sad today. And like, that's it. Those are my notes.
At least you wrote that. That's something. You put pen to paper and wrote it. That's it. It's like, but this is why we can't be accountability buddies. It's just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
No, we're awful being accountability buddies when it comes to writing for each other. We're good cheerleaders for each other in that sense. But really, when it comes to accountability, we only excel at the podcast for each other.
Yeah, I think that's where we have all of our energy, and it just doesn't work for anything else. It's like we can be flaky with each other, and we just let each other off the hook because we can both be kind of flaky at times. So it's kind of like, well, never mind. Okay, week 2. Better? No. I actually wrote more sporadically. I missed Monday, which I don't know, if I miss the first day of the week, it always feels so much harder to do it again. But I missed the Monday because me and my partner decided to take on a house project. Oh, it'll only take a few hours. And it spiraled, as life does that, and ended up taking over 11 hours to complete. It was like 10 at night by the end. We were sweaty and dusty. There was no way I was going to go at like 10 or 11 at night and go, I'm going to do some writing now. It's like, no, not a chance. So honestly, no, I think I wrote on Tuesday, Wednesday. So I was like, yes, managed it. Then I got an infection in my wisdom tooth that was agony. And I shockingly still managed to write Friday and Sunday before the pain became too much. And I ended up on these really nasty antibiotics. I usually get a certain one whenever I have an issue, but instead she gave me these weirder, stronger, horrible ones that left me really nauseated. And I was just like, between that and chomping down painkillers responsibly within the time frame and quantity I'm allowed. But it was like every 4 hours I was taking painkillers and they weren't doing a great job. The writing I did do on the second week wasn't great. It wasn't like, wow, I wrote, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. You're talking like maybe 100 words a day. It was bad. I did have a good excuse, but still really bad. Not really worth sitting at my desk to do it, if I'm honest.
I wouldn't consider that bad. You did it. You did something. Even if it was just a couple of days, even if it was just a couple hundred, like 100 words or whatever, you still did it. So that's progress. Any progress is progress. It's not bad. My week 2, I didn't necessarily write, quote unquote. I just kind of did a lot of brainstorming for the first half of the week. What brainstorming, you may ask? I don't remember. I actually did not write that down. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what I was working on. I genuinely don't know what I was working on, but I do remember I was doing something for my writing. And that was the first half of week 2. The second half of week 2, I was in the middle of retyping my final draft of Happily Ever Afterlife so that I could send it to my proofreader. And that took up a lot of my time because I was retyping my handwritten edits from a hard copy manuscript back onto the computer so that I could do another read through and get rid of as many typos as possible before sending it to the poor unsuspecting proofreader.
This hasn't been a good time for us, has it? This is the worst challenge we've ever done.
I think it went as well as it could for the time that we decided to do it.
Yes.
If we want to put a positive spin on it.
You're so good. You're so good with that.
I'm trying.
Okay, so week 3, I was still on painkillers and I was still on antibiotics, but things were actually getting a lot better. Pain was starting to actually get managed. So I actually managed to write for almost the whole week. I think I missed Sunday, and I don't know if that was just a I am exhausted, I'm not working on Sunday kind of feeling. But I'll be honest, the quality was just awful. It was very much a get it done, tick it off the list to make sure I managed to do the challenge rather than, wow, this is great. I'm enjoying the writing and I know what I'm writing about. I didn't even count my words. It was just get something written, open a document and do something. I can't even tell you which project I was writing for because I did bounce between several. I have several different stories and a novella I'm working on. And I just kept, whenever I was doing this challenge, I was just randomly opening projects and trying to find something to write. So on the days it worked well, it was great. But on these days, it was just like, I'd just pick something and just barf words out on a page. So yeah, not a great week.
I appreciate how whatever we did get done during these weeks, we don't remember. We have no memory of what we did. We were just like, just get something down for the sake of it, which is fine. That's totally fine. Sometimes you got to do that. My week 3 was completely manic. I hustled to finish retyping that draft for Happily Ever Afterlife. I put in a good 4 to 5 hours a day, I think, in like 4 days, 4 or 5 days, because the concept of time is totally lost on me. And I thought I had another week and I did not. So yeah, I was pet sitting, and luckily the dogs, a few of those days, the dogs were very chill and quiet, and they just slept a lot of the time. So I did take frequent breaks because I would take the dogs out and we'd play fetch and stuff like that. So it's not like I sat at the computer for 4 to 5 straight hours just typing. But yeah, that was a rough, but that was the extent of my week 3. I think for the majority of the week, I was just retyping and manically trying to get it done.
I can appreciate knowing that kind of suddenly, oh my gosh, I haven't got that extra week. Panic, panic, panic mode. And I've got to admit, panic mode is great when you've got executive dysfunction. It's the only thing that gets things done.
It is. It is. I'm not usually a huge procrastinator, but yeah, no, I got it done. And even the day that I came home, I actually the day after I got home from pet sitting, I read through my entire manuscript again and then just sent it. And I was like, I apologize in advance.
Sure, they're fine. It's like, yeah, it's right, it's right. Okay, week 4, my infection had gone. Depression was mostly under control. But that's when apparently fractured sleep and bad nightmares decided to show up because they're all on some kind of timeshare. So infection, depression, and nightmares when I do sleep. So that was great.
Because it mostly rhymes.
Yes. Despite that, I actually managed to write all 7 days, and it was better quality. So you know that old adage of like writers would suffer and drink a lot. A lot of the olden day writers would be heavy drinkers, and yet they could produce some incredible works. Apparently, I have that with depression and bad sleep and nightmares. It really cranked up the quality of my writing. Rather than just like 100 words to tick off my list, I was writing 500 words and up, and it was good. It wasn't just garbage being spewed everywhere. So yeah, apparently that's not a bad thing to have these horrible things happen, because it really shoved a fire up my ass, and I did better. And that was also when the heat started. In the UK, we don't cope with heat. We are bog people. We are wet, windy, cold bog people. We are not sunny, happy, sweaty, humidity people. So even though the weather was getting warmer, I still managed to do that without like melting in a big puddle.
I think that is excellent. I'm very proud of you for writing 7 days in a row and for being productive with like quality work. Good for you. Better late than never, right? My week 4 was kind of similar to Ari's. I did only write for a couple of sporadic days. Once I sent the manuscript off to my proofreader, I decided to I did that on a Sunday, and then I took Monday and Tuesday off because, again, that weekend was just manic, and I wrote and typed for 4 to 5 hours straight for a couple of days in a row. So once the happily ever afterlife nonsense was officially out of my hands, I was like, I need a break from the computer. I need a break from my writing and all of it. But the rest of the week, I actually did write, and I wrote a couple of short pieces for my coffee page. And I also wrote the flash fiction for Ari's Advent Train, which is due in October. I wrote that like 2, 3 months in advance. That's never going to happen again. So I haven't sent it to you yet, actually, because I cannot for the life of me come up with a title, but it's done. So huzzah for that. And then I also brainstormed for a new novel idea because, of course, why can't I just work on the ideas that I already have? I actually spent like a good chunk of time brainstorming for this new novel idea, which technically I did come up with 6, 7 years ago. And then for some reason I was in the shower and I was like, yeah, what if I just wrote that like now? Because the Grim Reaper Files is just about over. So let's turn to pirates. Why not? Screw all of my cozy mystery novels. But yeah, so I wrote down some ideas for that because it was in my head. And I spent like a good hour on it too. So that was kind of nice. It was kind of refreshing to work on something different rather than me obviously taking a break from happily ever after life at the moment. And instead of just deep diving into one of my ideas that's on my list, it was kind of refreshing to brainstorm something newish.
First of all, thank you so much for doing the advent train early, especially because I am still, as of recording this, missing 3 people. So I might be like, Rach, can you write a second story?
I actually do have an idea for a second story that I think I'm going to write regardless. So if you can use it, great. If not, I'll post it on my coffee page or something.
See, this is what you need. You need great friends who are just gonna back you up when you struggle with something. And for those who are listening who don't know, because I might be able to get more people if I do it now. Very quick thing. I run a advent calendar story train every year, and what it is 24 writers write up to 1,000 word flash fiction based on a theme word, like I have a specific word, and then every day for the 1st of December to the 24th, the writers will post them on their that post their own story on their own blog, and they all get tied back to mine so everyone can follow the train. And it's been great. I've been doing it for a few years, and I have some awesome writers do it, awesome stories doing it. I am still looking for 3 people. I might have filled it by now, but if not, and you're interested, send me a comment. Just do it. I need some more people. Okay. Also, I am loving the idea of a pirate story. I have my own pirate story I've been messing with as well. So, you need to get a pirate story out. I need to get a pirate story out. We need more pirate stories. I'm all for that.
Maybe this is where our accountability will come into play. If we actually write similar stories, because you and I write in like totally different genres, but maybe that's what we need. We need to work on something similar, and then our accountability will come through.
Exactly. We could like release them similar times and then do like a newsletter swap or a blog swap. It's like pirates, 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 pirates,
We're doing it. In 6 to 8 years, people, you can see pirate stories from me and Ari.
The reason I like my pirate story, it's a single book. It has an end that doesn't move to another book. It's the only book I have ever come up with that didn't end up being a duology or more.
Good for you. Mine's a duology. It was one idea, and then I kept, yeah. Nice. Actually, I thought of book 2 before I thought of book 1, but then I was like, how did they get to this point? And then I created a whole other book idea rather than me being like, oh, behind the scenes, this is what happened. I'm like, let's just throw in a whole new book.
No, in a whole book. Yeah. No, that's how it works. It's our problem, but thankfully, I touch wood. I am sticking to the one book and one book only for it. I'm saying it on the podcast so I can be held accountable if I try and add another one. Okay, week 5, which is literally like, I think it was like 1 day left when we did it or whatever. And I wrote, and it was okay. Not great. It was okay. There was more of a sense of, oh, thank God it's over than actually like, yes, doing the challenge kind of thing. So
I don't remember. I didn't write week 5. I just wrote up to week 4. I just, after that, I was like, I'm done.
That's okay. Okay, so we've done our weeks. Let's do some end thoughts regarding this challenge. As Rachel mentioned, it didn't help that I was busting my ass at the time trying to get through the last set of edits before my manuscript heads over to my professional editor. So I had to make time for that, and it is a beast of a manuscript, and I am a picky bitch, and I just kept finding lots of little things to change and add and things, so it did eat so much of my time. However, overall, what I learned from this challenge is that I really need a plan. On the days I actually did the most work and the most words, and they came easy, was the day I already had an idea of which project I wanted to work on, and I had a scene in my mind. So I need to know where to put my writing focus before I sit down and write. Not always. If I'm in the right headspace, I can just open a blank page and start writing something new. However, if I'm doing a challenge or I'm doing something where I'm trying to write every day, yeah, I need to know what I'm going to write. The other conclusion I came to is I don't like writing every day. It's definitely not for me. My life is not routine enough to make it work easily. And I'll be honest, again, basic bitch, I need easy. I need things to be streamlined for me. When I completed the 85K 90-day challenge, it wasn't because I was writing 945 words every day to stay on track for 3 months. I liked the flexibility of some days I wrote nothing, other days I wrote thousands, some days I wrote a few words. A week I didn't write anything, then more words the next week. It wasn't a write every day. And when obviously I tried to write every day with this challenge, I kind of failed. I didn't write every day. Something came up. Obviously, when you're in agonizing pain or you're a bit hepped up on antibiotics, that's one thing. But I sometimes prioritized other things in my life that took the writing away from me. So while technically I didn't show up every day for this challenge, I really did try. And I was aware that that was part of the challenge, to try and come and sit down. And, when I messed up, even when it was, good excuses like horrific dental pain, it still impacted me. I found myself kind of punishing myself for failing. Whereas if you're saying I want to write this many words or this many chapters within a certain period of time, and you can dictate to yourself which days you want to work, that's different. But telling myself I have to start every day and then missing days, I just absolutely punished myself for it. And then I felt bad, and then it affected the next day. And then, as I said, when I was just rushing and like, oh, I'll just write anything just to tick the box. That's crap. I don't want to do that. I don't mind writing crap every now and then, but I don't want to do that as a push to force myself to do it. So yeah, daily challenge, daily writing? No, that is not a me thing.
The funny thing is, we've talked about this many times before on the podcast, that when people talk about you getting into a writing routine, a lot of people just assume that means they need to write every single day. And there's some advice that circles around the internet now and then that says, if you want to be a writer, you have to write every single day, even if it's just 100 words, even if it's just one page, whatever. But no, you don't have to write every day. A writing routine can also equal you writing 2 days a week or 4 days a week or, 1 day a week, whatever. It's all dependent on you, your energy levels, your creative levels, and your day-to-day life, because we all need to find that work-life balance. And that's not easy to come by. And setting aside 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to write every single day when you have other life responsibilities, whether it's a full-time job, whether you have kids, whether you have pets, that's not always easy to come by. And if writing is your full-time job, then yeah, you would make that work because you need to set those work hours. But if it's not, if you're an unpublished author, if you're doing it as a hobby, or if you're just doing it for passive income, then it's not very feasible. So I understand that for many people, writing 30 days in a row or writing daily it just doesn't work for a lot of people. And in the past, it always worked for me during the NaNoWriMo sessions, only because I had the competition. I had the charts right in front of me, and that made it easier for me. It motivated me. But if I ever did it by myself or on my own during non-nano months, then I never followed through with it. I did not write every single day. And even during some NaNoWriMo sessions, I still didn't write every single day. There were still some days that I skipped. So I think it all depends on you. I think it's a fun challenge to try. And it felt kind of good to write 30 days in a row again, because, NaNoWriMo is no more. We are anti-NaNoWriMo. And it felt kind of good to get back into that, even though I myself was not consistent with it at all. I think if I was writing a first draft or even a second draft of a brand new novel, I think I would have done better with it. I would have been more motivated to write, I don't know, maybe like bare minimum 500 words a day, or just write for 30 minutes a day or whatever. And I'd be interested to give this challenge another try, even if we just shortened it to like 2 weeks or something. But if we were working on brand new novels, I wonder how different things would go. And real quick, I do want to say that I totally agree with you that like when you fail at something, or when you feel like you didn't accomplish what you should have, you feel bad, and then you just feel guilty and you punish yourself for it. But I also want to say that you mentioned that even with good excuses, such as the dental pain and stuff, those aren't excuses. I've learned to turn my thinking around with this, and it actually has helped. Those aren't excuses, those are reasons. So just keep that in mind.
That is good to know. Yeah, it's so instinctive to go, it was an excuse. It was an excuse. Obviously, I couldn't help the dental pain because of it was my wisdom tooth, and I couldn't help that the antibiotics made me a bit loopy. But yeah, no, that's true. Maybe I should need to start reframing better.
Yes. Yeah. No. And I think that's something, it's another piece of like writing advice that circles the internet now and then, that people are like, oh, you have no time to write. That's just an excuse for not getting your writing done. And it's such a negative thought for all writers, especially because we all go through imposter syndrome and we all have other responsibilities, mental health stuff. I mean, these last 30 days, 2025 in general, I have been dealing with a lot of health issues, not just mentally, but also physically. So writing has been very difficult for me to come by. And I was actually very nervous that I wasn't going to be able to send Happily Ever Afterlife to my proofreader on time. And in a weird way, this challenge kind of helped with that, because rather than me saying I have to do this for the proofreader, which obviously was, motivation in and of itself, I was also saying, oh, I have to be able to, give Ari something. I have to tell her that I did participate in this challenge that we set up for ourselves, rather than me coming on the podcast and being like, yeah, I wrote like 3 days during the whole 30 days.
No, it's just I said imposter syndrome and the feeling that you have to do something like that. And you mentioned it earlier, like, it's still 2025 and there's still this advice running around the internet of, you want to be a professional writer, you need to write every day. And the problem is, no, you don't. The thing comes from, you don't need to write every day, but you can't wait till motivation hits either. I think the problem is, it's like people are like, it doesn't matter if you're motivated or not, you have to sit down and write. And it's like, there is some truth in that you can't just sit and sit around going, oh, waiting for inspiration. It's like sometimes you do have to kind of force the inspiration by going and just barfing on the page, but you don't need to do that every day, because wow, that can crush your soul for some people. It's just too much. Sometimes you need to be out there gaining inspiration before you sit down. So we did this challenge because we wanted to sort of see about this like daily writing, and we've both come to the conclusion that it's not really our thing as a definitive. We do seem to write better when we're not constrained to these things, unless, as you said, like when you had like specific challenges that you enjoyed that had like a more almost social connection to it as well. But no, we're going to end it there. Before we leave, if you want to learn more about us, the podcast, and opportunities to be on the show, don't forget to check out our website at themerrywriterpodcast.podbean.com. We'll turn it over to you guys now. Did you try the challenge? And how did it go for you? And if you didn't try the challenge, but you naturally write every day or don't write every day, tell us about your experience with that too. Just, put your answers in the comments at the bottom. We want to chat about it. Remember, we do release new episodes every Wednesday. Next week, we're interviewing a special guest. To ensure you don't miss it, hit the subscribe button on your way out. And as always, thanks for listening to the Merry Writer Podcast. We'll see you next week. This podcast is brought to you by Too Many Ideas, because writing is easier than editing, except during this challenge. The music titled Inspired is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.